The beautiful thing about today is that you get the choice to make it better than yesterday. It doesn't matter how bad was your yesterday, today you are going to make it a good one. Keep spreading positivity wherever you go. On the occasion of Anant Chaturthi, let the immersion of Ganesha idol open the pathway towards a better and brighter future for all of us. Good evening and namaste, and a very convivial welcome to all our dignitaries and delegates from CA Charmi Shah, who will be the moderator of today's virtual webinar on Agile Audit, organized by Digital Accounting and Assurance Board and SAFA Committee on Information Technology. Today, it's an honor for us to have the presence of affable, gregarious, gorgeous, dynamic, proactive, and versatile personalities who are the galaxies of accounting profession amongst us. I thank all the distinguished invitees for accepting our invitation and making us despite of their busy schedule. To get the light from each of the twinkling stars that we have today and not eclipsing between the participants and the galaxies, I take the privilege to call upon Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, CACS Nanda, Central Council Member of ICAI from 2004 to 2016 and 2019 to 2022, and for the next council. He is the Chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Internal Audit Standard Board, Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accounts, that's SAFA, is a Vice Chairman of Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee. He has held position of Chairman and Vice Chairman during his council tenure in various committees. He is a member of Quality Review Board set up by the Government of India, and he was a member of SEBI Advisory Committee on Primary Market 2007 to 2010, Committee on Mutual Funds 2007 to 2010, and represented ICAI on SEBI Committee on Disclosure and Accounting Standards. He was a convener of expert group constituted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India on investor protection. He was also a member of SAFA on Committee on Professional Accountants in Business and Committee on Improvement in Transparency, Accountability and Governance. He was a chairman of NIRC of ICAI 2002-2003. He has also contributed as a guest speaker at Surrey Vancouver, British Columbia chapter of ICAI on IFRS and Effective Communication and Forensic Accounting Seminar. He has contributed as a guest faculty and program coordinator at various seminars, conferences organized at national and international bodies of ICAI. He has also been in international conference at Kathmandu on WTO and trade laws, capital market, the way forward. With this brief introduction, I welcome Nanda sir to give his insights.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to have here the Honorable SAFA Chairman, CA NIK Bhandara Sahab. I am equally honored to have my past President and Vice Chairman SAFA, CA Nihar Musaria ji. I can also see my young, charming Vice Chairman, who happens to be the Chairman Board of Studies, CA Daya Nivas Sharma ji. Two of the revered speakers, Manoj Agarwal ji, Puja ji. We are waiting for the Honorable Vice President, CA Aniket Talati, to join in. And all participants who have come here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome our Honorable Vice President, CA Aniket Talati ji, who has joined. Aniket ji, welcome. And I'm thankful to him. He is traveling, yet he agreed to come and address us all. He is a man of vision, a man who would always take into account certain things which will ultimately shape the future of the profession. Ladies and gentlemen, you all remember when Charmi started, she took out a very wonderful quote. She said that today is always better than yesterday, because today you can leave aside all problems which you faced yesterday and you can transverse into a path of progress, transfer into a path which is totally dawned with newer initiatives. Yes, the theme of today's program is truly aligned to it. We are today speaking on Agile Internal Audit. And I'm very happy to share that this program is being watched in 9 SAFA countries apart from India. To name a few: Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, Bangladesh. So many of countries and participants of those countries are watching this program. I'm thankful to SAFA for giving this opportunity to the Indian DAB so that we are able to showcase our skills and ensure that all SAFA countries move in tandem with the principles set up by the SAFA board. So what is Agile Auditing? Agile Auditing essentially is the mindset of an internal audit function which resolves to adopt to focus on stakeholder needs, one of the very important facets of internal audit. It helps to accelerate the audit cycles. It helps to drive timely insights so that informed decisions can be taken by the board or the audit committee, as the case may be. It also strives to reduce waste effort and ultimately moves ahead to create larger impetus on lesser documentation. Today's webinar will cover, first, understanding the agile auditing. Second, understanding the agile mindset, the mindset which drives the entire thing. And for that, you need a lot of practice. I'm reminded of a small quote which says that behind every war that is won are screams of orphans and cries of widows. We have to understand one thing very clearly, and I compliment people who have joined here in large numbers. There is a couplet which says, Manzil mil hi jayegi, thoda bhatakkar hi sahi. Manzil mil hi jayegi, thoda bhatakkar hi sahi. Gumrah to wo hai jo gharon se nikle hi nahi. I'll translate it for you, SAFA President. It means that you will have your destination, even if you have to struggle a bit. Ignorant are the people who have not just joined the struggle. So people who have joined here are people with a very illuminated mindset. And yes, we'll speak in this webinar about the agile mindset. We will speak about origin of agile methodology. We'll speak about the principles of agile methodology. And more importantly, we will speak of professional opportunities in agile auditing and the way forward. Now, what can agile auditing do for you? Agile auditing can shorten the time taken for auditing what matters while delivering value to customers. Customers want lesser time, larger value, which agile audit ensures. And CS ultimately using agile audit are able to effectively service not only the clients or stakeholders, but the regulators and government also. Now, if CS use agile auditing for financial reporting, then agile auditing will enable more productive time of the chartered accountants for other high value adding activities. Where more focus needs to be given, we will have time for that. And third, CS as agile auditing enabler. Yes, CS can help bring agile mindset in an organization, enabling them to deliver faster value to customer, which can help increase productivity. Value and productivity, these are the two things which ultimately unlock the thought process, unlock the value proposition for the client, and which can be done very effectively in agile auditing. I see my vice president. I will not speak much. I would request Sharma to call upon our vice president because he has a flight to take. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was nice interacting with you, and I want to introduce to you the very exciting, the very glamorous word of agile auditing, which will ultimately help you scale newer heights and achieve the objectives of client maximization and client satisfaction. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Integrity, insight, and inclusiveness are the three essential qualities of leadership, Sadhguru had once said. And sir, you have all the three virtues to be a great leader. Thank you, sir. So believe good things will happen, and they will. With this vision, we have with us CA Aniket Sunil Talati, Vice President, ICAI, amongst us. A man of refined thought process, quick understanding, and sharp vision. He has been elected as Vice President of the ICAI for the term 22-23.
Thank you, Charmi. Thank you so much for the introduction, and very good evening to all the participants who are joining from various parts of the world, and especially from the SAFA countries. First and foremost, my heartiest compliments and congratulations to the chairman of the Technology Committee of SAFA, Charan Jyotsing Nandaji, for having another wonderful session with our friends in SAFA on Agile Audit today. We had the session on forensic standards a few days ago, and I believe this is the second session that he's doing with all these SAFA countries. So, Nandaji, thank you very much, and compliments to you for truly believing in the concept of neighborhood first, which India believes in. And you are trying to make sure that the knowledge and the specialties and the specialization that our members have been able to achieve is not restricted to just membership in India, but we're able to share it with our friends in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all the countries that you mentioned. The Honorable President of SAFA, Mr. Bandara, very good evening, and thank you so much, sir, for joining. To the Vice President of SAFA and past President of ICI, somebody with whom I had the privilege of working in the council for 3 years and who has been a friend, philosopher, and guide, C. Nihar Jambusariyaji, and all the faculties and participants today. It's such a refreshing change. In fact, when Nandaji was talking, I was looking up on my phone and trying to learn more about Agile Audit, because I myself come from an audit background and I've done a lot of internal audit, mystery shopping, and all those various types of audits that we perform. But this is one audit terminology that I was not aware of. And therefore, even I was trying to look up on the internet of what is Agile Audit, how it is done, performed. And I'm so glad that this new concept of having a quicker, faster audit and delivering the right kind of results for our clients is being done. So once again, compliments to Nandaji. I will only say that the Internal Audit Standards Board or the Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board, whenever they do these very important programs, I think it is important for us to appreciate that the forensic standards, for example, which were developed by India, they are only helping in standardization of the assignments and the engagements that our membership, our firms are getting into. Similarly, I think with this function of Agile Audit, the actual reason I perceive that we must be doing this with SAFA nations is to learn best practices from one another. I think if in forums and platforms like this, we're able to discuss, deliberate upon what are, for example, certain reports in certain industries, what are the findings that people are generally observing and finding, and we're able to maybe document and share them with one another, I think it will only improve the quality of audit, not just in India and SAFA, but eventually we can contribute as thought leaders to the world. So I think it is with this intention that I really appreciate the initiatives that Nandaji you are taking in having these conferences with SAFA. And I will just compliment all the participants who have joined and have shown eagerness and thirst to understand these new areas of audits. With this, I compliment the board, the SAFA members who are here, and of course, all the participants for this wonderful conference. And I wish all of us all the very best.
A thankful heart is not the greatest virtue, but the parent of all virtues. Thank you, sir, for your insights. I take the privilege to invite the person who intends to translate his passion for the inclusive growth of the profession through the transformation agenda that the current paradigm merits. CA Nihar Jammu Surya, sir, a man of professional wisdom, vision, and strong organization skill, with a firm belief in all-round inclusion growth of Indian chartered accountant profession. He was the president of ICAI for the year 21-22. He is the vice president of SAFA and also a member of Professional Accountants in Business Advisory Group of International Federation of Accounts, that's IFAC. He was a member of very important committees constituted by the government and regulators relating to policy formation that includes Government Accounting Standard Advisory Board and Audit Advisory Board, both constituted by CAG of India. He is also a board member of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority and Insurance Advisory Committee and Apex Advisory of IRDA and member of SEBI Primary Market Advisory Committee. He is a member of an e-commerce committee formed by the Ministry of Finance and peer review committee of the CBDT. He has been a prolific speaker at national and international forums. He has addressed more than 900 seminars, conferences so far covering various subjects of professional interest. With this brief introduction, I request Jambu Surya sir to take over the session.
Thank you, Charmi. And good evening, everybody. President Safa Hinaike Bandaraji, Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, C. Aniket Talati, with whom I had the opportunity to work together. And this young man is very energetic and very agile himself. The Chairman of Technology Committee of SAFA, CS Charanjot Singh Nandaji, again my colleague for many years, and I had the opportunity to work with him for many years. Vice Chairman of Technology Committee, CA Daya Nivas Sharma, again very hands-on on technology, and a number of things he has done in the past for technology at the institute, and is continuing to support the Chairman of Technology Committee. Today's two speakers, Manoj Agarwal ji, Puja ji, and all the participants from all SAFA countries. It's a matter of great pleasure that today I have the opportunity to share a few views on a topic which is new. For years together, we have seen as auditors that for a long time, audit was being regarded as an activity which was more required for compliance. And many of the stakeholders at some point of time doubted whether audit provides real value add. And the major reason was that audit used to get completed after almost 4, 5, or 6 months after the accounts were closed, after the accounting year was over. Now time has come when, if we make full use of technology, audit can be completed almost simultaneously with the close of the year. And within 10 days, there could be board meeting. Within a month, there could be annual general meeting. Particularly, the concept of agility is more relevant for internal audits, where stakeholders expect a lot of value to be added by this audit. And Nandaji is coming out with a webinar at a very right time. After the pandemic, the world has become much more faster. Everybody wants reports on table very fast, and Agile Audit is supposed to deliver the audits very fast, and that too very efficiently. An activity which used to take long time, with the help of technology, this activity will take very less time, and that too without compromising any of the features of audit. There is no compromise on documents, planning, discipline. It will be done the same way, but it will add a lot of value because it will be done timely, number one. And number two, it will be a value add audit rather than just compliance. So many features of Agile Audit, which will be discussed by the speakers today, will surprise even the auditors and the attendees, what kind of value they can add to audit and to what extent the audit function can be taken to satisfy the needs of stakeholders. So once again, many thanks to SAFA President for allowing the committee or encouraging the committee to have this topic today. And my compliments and congratulations to Chairman and Vice Chairman that at a very right time you are coming up with this new concept of Agile Audit and educating or upgrading the standards of audit that our auditors will deliver to the stakeholders. So with this, again, back to you. Thank you for inviting. It was pleasure talking with you. Thank you.
Truly, sir, you have the capacity to translate vision into reality. Hearty gratitude to enlighten our delegates with your vision. The speed of light does not merely transform the world, it becomes the world, and globalization is the speed of light. Thanks to globalization, We have with us none other than President of SAFA, Mr. H.M. Hinaike Bandara. A cordial welcome to you, sir, to the country India, although virtual. To formally introduce him, he is a fellow and a founder member and the Vice President of Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka. And this is the first time that CMA Sri Lanka representative has been appointed as Vice President of SAFA since its admission as a member in 2010. He has been associated with SAFA since 2005 in various capacities, and he is the recipient of CMA Award for Excellence in Business Management at the SAFA CMA Management Accounting Summit held in 2012. He has the opportunity of working very closely with all Sri Lankan past presidents of SAFA. His contribution to the field of professional education counts more than 2 decades. He is the past president of Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka, past president of Association of Professional Bankers Sri Lanka, council member of CA Sri Lanka, treasurer, Organization of Professional Association of Sri Lanka, director, and Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka and council member of Sri Lanka Institute of Advanced Technological Education. He has also served as a director of World Saving Bank Institution representing Asia and Pacific region. And currently he serves as an advisory council member, ABPSL, independent director, Finance, PLC, and council member of Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. With the participation of all the people from Sri Lanka, Abu Dhabi, Nepal, Colombia, and all other countries of the world, I take the privilege to welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Charmi, for your kind introduction. Mr. Nihar Jambuzaria, Vice President SAFA, Mr. Sunil Talati, Vice President, ICA India, Mr. C.S. Nanda, Chairman SAFA Committee on Information Technology and Chairman Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Mr. Sharma, Vice Chairman, eminent speakers, moderator, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me thank the Chairman SAFA Committee on Information Technology for organizing this webinar and inviting me to address you all. I also would like to thank President ICA India for the support extended to organize this session for the benefit of the accounting fraternity in the South Asian region. It is a true pleasure for me to participate in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, automation, global connectivity, and dynamic risk environments have challenged the traditional internal audit functions. At the same time, operational, financial, and reputational risks have increased and become more complex with the introduction of new regulatory regimes, for example, related to information security, finance and banking, more importantly, environment, social and governance reporting, known as ESG. Consequently, internal audit functions have been tasked with broadening their scope of work, developing more innovative methodologies, and increasing stakeholder involvement in the audit process to manage emerging risks in real time. Given the criticisms of the traditional internal audit approach, Agile project management has emerged as an alternative approach and is increasingly applied in various functions of organizations, including their internal audits. Advocates of Agile auditing argue that the approach provides a more flexible and dynamic system for internal auditing and requires a paradigm shift and a change in mindset for companies looking to adopt this approach. So how do we move forward? Internal audit and internal auditors must be agile. In Agile, is about being able to understand, adapt, and change quickly in an evolving environment. On the other hand, internal audit must be able to add value in an agile way in response to disruptions and evolving risk faced by the organization. In that context, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board of ICA India is building competencies to ensure its members to meet challenges and leverage opportunities which will be beneficial not only to the members of ICA India, but for the entire region of South Asia. It is also noted that the board has introduced many programs to upgrade digital landscape of practitioners. Friends, in conclusion, I wish to mention that members considering the jump from accounting to internal audit or trying to decide between the two professions, don't think too long. You will gain a much more in-depth perspective of the business as an internal auditor. You have access to the entire business cycle and decision important to the business. You can assess the impact of such decision and even assist in highlighting risk or control improvements that could benefit the business. But you should be agile. With those remarks, let me thank once again the chairman and organizing committee for inviting me, and I wish the webinar all success. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. There is a Sanskrit sloka that says, Guru na prapyanti yatyana yatrapti hi labhyante. Guru prasadatam sarvam tu prapnoyetam na sarvasyu. That means that whatever is not obtained from the Guru cannot be obtained from elsewhere. With the grace of Guru, one indeed gets everything. So thank you, sir, for being Guru and gracing the occasion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If opportunity does not knock, build a door. And this is well portrayed by our next keynote addressee, a personality in himself, our very own Vice Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, ICAI, CA Daya Nivas Sharma, who is qualified in 2005, articled with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Hyderabad, where he has overseen and managed audit engagement of large corporate entities. He has thereafter reviewed Lakshmi Nivas and Company Chartered Accountants. He possesses over 20 years of experience in the field of auditing, accounting, corporate restructuring, valuation, due diligence, and transaction advisory services, and other related financial management services. He is an information system auditor and a certified forensic auditor. He has been elected to a Central Council of ICAI for the period 2019 to 22 and 22 to 25. Currently, he has been nominated on the board of XBRL India, Chairman of Board of Studies Academics, Chairman Peer Review Board, Chairman of Members of Student Services Directorate, and Chairman of Center of Excellence, Hyderabad. He's been Vice Chairman to Digital Accounting and Assurance Standard Board, member UDIN Monetary Group, member Digital Transformation and Re-Engineering Group. He is a co-chairman of Direct Tax Committee in FTCCI, that is Federation of Telangana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and has served as a member and co-chairman at various committees such as Direct Tax, Banking, Insurance, Finance, IPR, Company Law, etc. He has been instrumental in taking the firm into international arena and developed working relationship with different countries and 5 cities nationally. He has taken various topics in practice management, audit, assurance, taxation, that is direct and indirect, company law, allied laws. And with this brief introduction, your achievements and outstanding leadership qualities are worthy of emulation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Shami, for inviting me. Honorable President of SAFA, Mr. Bangara, welcome back again to Indian context of what we are trying to do from. I am thankful to the chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board and Committee of Technology from SAFA, Mr. Charanjit Singh Nanda, who has always been thinking differently and trying to put in new thoughts in the mind of people and professionals. I also welcome Mihar sir. Thank you very much for joining. And it's always a pleasure to listen to you and look forward always for your guidance. And the speakers, thank you very much for making it possible to come and talk on one of the most unique things, which is Agile Audit. Though audit as a word has been, there from quite a long time, the agility because of the adoption of technology has made it more important. There are been circumstances, situations where the regulators are also been talking about a situation where why do we actually get into a materiality concept and how and why we are not moving away from the materiality concept and trying to make it more of a complete assurance in the entire process. So considering this factor and today's topic, which is going to be discussed, which I look forward for detailed deliberation from our speakers, I thank you all for joining us today and making it possible to have an effective interaction. And this session will also be recorded and placed on the ICI TV, which people can follow at any given point in time. So thank you all for joining us today and making it possible to make this a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have been an explanatory and visionary mentor, an icon of integrity, and a great leader who has dedicated his life to the service of our fraternity. Moving on to the next segment. When we walked in the doors of our profession, we knew nothing. From weakness to strength, from grass to grace, and from nothing to something. The knowledge that ICI has imparted to us will be of a great asset. We would always treasure everything that has been taught to us. So, agile auditing, when translated into practical terms, is a simple and a straightforward approach to deliver effective and efficient internal audit products. To throw light on agile audit, we have with us our distinguished speaker who have a nice hold on this topic. CA Manoj Agarwal, sir. Formally introducing him, he is a leading internal audit and risk management department of one of the India's largest specialty footwear retailers. He has over 20 years of experience in delivering assurance and advisory services to management in retail, facility management, BFSI, manufacturing industries. He has allied internal audit department with professional standards and management expectation. He had a commendable position like course director for enterprise risk management for ICI in 2010 and committee of members in industry of WIRC. He is currently a member of International Internal Audit Standard Board of Institute of Internal Auditors, USA, and is a training committee chair of IIA India, strategy advisory board member of IRM India affiliate. He is also DISA and a FCA, Certified Internal Auditor and Certification in Risk Management Assurance from Institute of Internal Auditors. With this brief introduction, I invite Manoj sir to share his experience and knowledge on the topic. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Charmi. Thanks, Charmi, for the wonderful introduction. So first of all, I would like to thank Digital Accounting and Assurance Board for inviting me to give this session. And I'm also thankful to the SAFA Committee on Information Technology. I'm thankful to Mr. H.M. N.I.K. Bandara-ji, Mr. Vice President SAFA, C.A. Nihar Jambusaria-ji, Chairman DAB Board, Charanjit Singh Nanda-ji, and Vice Chairman Shri Daya Nivas Sharma ji. So it gives me a wonderful pleasure, and I'm very excited to deliver this session. So I'm start sharing my slides. Great. So my fellow professionals in India and SAFA countries, so today is a truly honorable day for me that I got this opportunity. Charmi has already taken care of the speaker's profile. I'm speaking this. So for the most important thing from my personal risk management, the disclaimer, all the content of the presentation constitute opinion of speaker, that is me and me alone. They do not present the views and opinion of my employers, my supervisors, the association institute, which I have been or is part of, and maybe in the future part of. Some of the situation that I mentioned may not be true, and identities of any parties, if used, they may have been disguised, and images used may be subject to copyright. So with this, whatever I'm sharing, this is my opinion. They do not represent the opinion of ICI and SAFA. So if there is a positive factor, you can give credit to them, but if there's a negative factor, so it's me and me only responsible. So let me start with two great quotes. The first one is, while we teach, we learn. So though I'm here to give this session, but most importantly, I'm here to learn. I hope by asking questions, you will allow me an opportunity to learn this subject, get more clarity on this subject. And the second quote is, the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retains the ability to function. This quote is a perfect fit for internal auditors. Why? Because sometimes we see things are hopeless, yet we are determined to make them otherwise. That is, we want to make them better. So this quote is a perfect fit for internal auditors. And I hope I would be able to demonstrate this at later part of my presentation. So first of all, let's set the expectation setting. What do you want from this session? Though there is some context has been given to me, but I would like you, everyone, to think of what is the one thing you want to take from this session. It can be anything. It can be what is agile auditing means, how I can apply the same in my work. Is agile auditing make some sense? It is tough, easy. What I can do it. I hope you have taken out your pen and pencil and put at least one expectation from this session. So today we are going to cover what is Agile, what are the 12 principles of Agile, what are the challenges in adopting Agile, what are the areas where Agile can be adopted, and Q&A. Feel free to ask any question you may have, and those questions will be passed on to me, and I would like to answer to the best of my abilities. What comes to mind when we say Agile? Something, it comes to our mind is speed, flexibility, ability, fast, quick. Something moving very fast, flexible, alert. Now, of course, you will also find priorities, estimation, product owner, user stories, sprint, etc., etc. But the key word is when just close your eyes, think agile, agility. What does it mean? And let me help you. Now, the dictionary defines agile means able to move quickly and easily. Somebody is as agile as a monkey. Able to think and understand quickly. Then, now these are the keywords. If you understand them, if you just focus, think about it. What does agile means to me? and you will know you're already agile. It can be made nimble, super acrobatic, your gymnast, deft, fast, graceful, light-footed, running, active, fit, good condition, vigorous, quick moving, lightsome. Just think of all this thing and just think how you can apply all these keywords in your audit work, how you can make your audit nimble, how you can make your audit deft, how you can make your audit active, fit, quick moving, alert, sharp, astute, intelligent. Just think about it, and my dear friends, half of my work would be done. And my friends, my CA friends from India, you guys are the luckiest lot. Why? Because when you have been made, when you become CA, the agility is built into your DNA. You know why? Ya e sushiptu jagrati. This is our motto, which means a person who is awake in those that sleep. It means we are alert, we are quick, we are clever, we are always alert, ability to do work with agility. So, my dear friend, we all have agile DNA built into us when we have undergone our articleship. So, it is very important to understand what is the manifesto, to what does agility means. Now, so somewhere in 2001, some great experts come together. They were facing some challenges. Just visualize yourself that you are a customer of a software development project, and that project is taking, let's say, 6 months, and you are not getting any alerts, any update, or you might be getting some alert, some update, but you are getting worried. Hey guys, is this project is going to deliver on time that I wanted? And you have heard the horror stories of project half delivered, half understood, functionality given and required. There is a total mismatch. Just visualize yourself with all those characteristics, and these are the problem this great expert were trying to solve. While thinking about this thing, they realized that there are certain fundamental issues. For example, all those projects were using certain processes, tools. There was a comprehensive documentation. At the start of the project is a complete documentation. What are the modules? What are the components? What are the functionality? What are the controls? What are the inputs? What will be the output? What will be the reports? What will be the exception reports, if any? What not? So comprehensive documentation. And they once they have done that, there is a contract negotiation. Otherwise, who is going to pay the bill if something has been left out? And then sticking to that plan. Now you will find that all these four characteristics is also equally applicable in our audit work. So so there are processes, tools to manage audit. We love to have comprehensive documentation. Based on the scope, we will have to do a negotiation. And once we develop a plan, we want to stick to that plan so that we deliver on the agreed upon plan. But when they have thought about it, they realize that these are important. But what is even more important is considering that a work is done by an individuals and a work is accepted by an individual. Even though, on one hand side, there is a company, there is an individual who is managing a project. On the other hand side, there is a client but there is an individual who is doing a UAT and giving a clearance. Now, they are working software. Now, what is the use of a documentation if you are not able to use the tool that you have got it developed? So the software should be in a position to give the work for which has been developed. Customer collaboration. Now, they realize that once at the beginning, customer is given some specification. Now, certain things could have been best achieved if there was some discussion with the customer. And if based on the discussion, if there is a change that need to be done, then that need to be done. If you are not doing that, then what you are giving is a product which is not useful. And does that will give you another work? No, no way. So they realize that while the processes, documentation, negotiation, following a plan, they are valuable. But if they are not able to deliver things, then they are not valuable. So the things on the left gives you more value. If they are not being done properly, then it is a valueless. Based on this, they have created certain principles. I've tried to map those principles with how best we can use that internal audit work, how best we can adapt them in our internal audit function. For example, the first principle, satisfy the customer. If you have done wonderful job, but your customer is not happy, then that work may not hold any good. Now, you might be delivering on the projects, you might be delivering your annual internal audit plan. But if you are not keeping an eye on the new development, new changes, new risk, then you may not be able to deliver something where the value is required. For example, let's take yourself mentally back in 2021, on the onset of COVID, and you said, hey guys, I will stick to my internal audit plan, which we have created in the month of January, and we try to deliver. We want to go and visit the customer. And do you think your customer would be happy? No. Number of customers wanted certain tasks to be managed, certain tasks to be reviewed, certain tasks to be managed, reviewed on an ongoing basis to ensure that the organization is not burning cash uselessly. And if you're not doing that and stick to your plan, then your customer is not satisfied. So you need to think, identify areas, what the customer wants, how best to give it to them so that you can satisfy the customer. Another principle is welcome changes and see how those changes can be put to advantage. Now, so when we start the work, we start the work with certain predefined scope. But let's consider. So at the beginning of the year, you decided that I would be doing an audit of an application X, which is used for, let's say, HR processing. And you have decided to schedule that audit after 9 months. And during this 9 months, the company has implemented a new system for HR processing. And you still want to audit the old one. Are you going to satisfy a customer? Answer is no. You can think of another scenarios. You wanted to do inventory count and COVID happened. And COVID happened, they want you to cover some more areas. So covering those more areas will entail additional work. But if you are not covering, can you give an assurance that, hey guys, inventory has been taken properly? No. So the one of the principle is welcome changes for advantage. Another principle is deliver working software frequently. So let's twist it around. Provide assurance that controls are working and effective quickly and frequently. For example, one of the method you can do is instead of reporting at the end of an assignment, you can do more frequent reporting to give an assurance that what is working and what is not working. Business people and developer must work together. So you need to work with your stakeholder. If you take only an SOP, go and do an audit, and you don't discuss with the stakeholders, then at the end of the day, you may not be able to deliver what is required. Motivated individuals, that is, build projects around motivated individuals. That means now you can send people to do a work, but if they are not motivated, what they are going to do? They will take a checklist and ensure that checklist has been covered. But where is the application of mind which is required? So, but if the motivated individual go, he will use his mind, be alert, and see if something is happening which should have been raised a red flag, though it may not be part of the checklist, may not be part of the scope itself, but they will raise that red flag to ensure that the organization is protected, the objectives are being taken care. Face-to-face conversation. Now, face-to-face conversation. Have you ever encountered situation where you said, to your manager, please get this thing done, and then he tried to do that, talk to the customer, talk to the team. When the work comes to you, you realize that hey, it is not the right thing. Of course, you can convert yourself to a customer and say, we want something to be done, and the partner comes, he says we will deliver, then he sends it to his manager. Managers come with the team, they have an understanding. This manager doesn't talk to the customer and he only talks to the partner, and customer says, what is happening here? I'm not getting the value, I'm not getting the work done. Of course, it can also mean that while doing some work, you need to talk to the people at the ground level to understand what is happening. The idea is not having discussion. Idea is to understand what is the problem that requires a solution. Working software is a measure. Now, you can do an audit, but if there is no outcome can be identifying exception, outcome can be giving assurance that controls are working, outcome can be a report supported by appropriate evidences, exhibits. If these things are not there, then you have not done your work. Of course, it also means that you are not only supposed to do, hey, this is not working, but you're an expert, so you can also give that solution. Okay, guys, this is not working, something needs to be done. These are the two things which you can do, which can help you, and this is how you will ensure that the control which is not working may start working. The sustainable pace. Now, sustainable pace, it means now you can go and do a wonderful work, in one year, but in next year you don't do much work. So whatever good work you are doing, it need to be sustainable. So it need to be sustainable so that you continue to deliver whatever you're doing, whatever efforts you're putting in. If you're giving some recommendations, it should lead to, I would say, permanent solution instead of only the band-aid fixes. Continuous attention to excellence, skilling, reskilling, upskilling, or learning, unlearning, relearning. So you need to keep doing that. That will ensure that you are in a position to deliver value to your customer. Since you are present here in this session, this indicates that there is a desire to excel. I'm very happy to be part of this group. Simplicity is essential. Now, you can give 30-page report, but who is going to read? Only that process owner, because he's supposed to give some response. He would be only reading half. When it goes to your audit committee, they would be saying, hey guys, give us 1-pager or 2-pager stating the issues and what need to be done. Short, simple reports stating the issues in a simple language is essential. So talk to the point, don't give gyan. Self-organizing teams. Now, there is a work, you ask a manager, hey, please go and deliver some work. Now, this manager come and says, sir, I need one IT guy. Sir, I need one data analytic guy. Sir, I need one this person. I need this another one person. So is this efficient? No, no, it is not efficient. If somebody has some skill sets, so that skill set should be known. The team, they should be in a position to understand the strength and weaknesses of each other. So they are in a position to step in for a person with some weakness, and the person may be able to step in for some other person who has some weakness where this person has the strength. And they should be empowered. If they are keep coming to you for asking for permission, then it will lead to delays. At regular interval, reflect how to become more effective, how to become more productive. So it is part of learning, unlearning, relearning. It is part of growing up, when you are doing a self introspection, where I am able to do justice, where I'm not able to do, where I'm spending a lot of time without value, where I need to spend more time to get some value, where I can spend less time and get more value. So you see, all these principles are simple English. Now, all these things we already know. What does it means? And in future slides, in the 2 slides ahead, I would be taking some examples. So you will realize that uh, you are already agile in some activities of your work. You are already agile in some other activities which you may not be aware of. And there would be some activities which you can quickly adopt, which it will only require a slight change in the mindset. Now, what agile is not? Now, do you remember we discussed that it's the working software vis-a-vis comprehensive documentation. It does not mean there is no documentation. What it means is your documentation is relevant, is continuously getting updated, getting refined, so that you are delivering value. Do you remember that there was a thing that where we say that to the collaboration over planning. So it does not mean that there is no planning. What it means is you are continuously doing planning. You are continuously doing reprioritization. So anything which is high risk, anything which is high value, come on board. You started with 10 items and another 11th item comes, which is supposed to be high risk, high value. So you don't say that, hey, this is after 10th, I will be taking this up. You evaluate that. You decide, is this priority? If yes, then you put it here. You don't wait that your 10th priority has been finished and then consider. Agile does not mean less discipline. In fact, it means more discipline. Because if we consider individual versus this thing, At the end of the day, you need to also adhere to your standards. So it does not mean free for all. It does not mean less discipline. It does not mean freedom. It means more discipline towards giving value to the customer. Now, if in the past, wherever you have heard agile, you would have also heard, there's, Scrum, Kanban. So agile does not mean Scrum, Kanban. Agile means agile. There are many methodology which you can use. But are you using them? So you can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whichever. You can take any of those methodology and you can be agile. In fact, total quality management. You can also use that and become an agile. So if somebody says this is the only way to be an agile, then and I would say sorry, there are more than one way to be an agile, because agile is a mindset. Now, now this is a question. Internal audit function is to provide weekly status report. Management wants more frequent reporting. They decide to adopt agile approach. What will be the right reporting frequency? So friends, you have few seconds. Think it over. What do you think should be the right reporting frequency? So I'm giving you, let's say, 10 seconds. I hope these 10 seconds are sufficient. In case these are not sufficient, my apologies, but this is not interactive. So I need to give you some time and then go for an answer. So do you think bi-weekly, that is twice in a week, can be a right frequency? Maybe. Do you think daily can be a right frequency? I would say maybe. Do you think hourly would be the right frequency? Because there's a frequency reporting, agility. We need to be continuously agile. So hourly, I don't think so. That would be too much. According to me, the right frequency can be daily or bi-weekly. Personally, I'm in favor of daily. Now, which of the following is not associated with agile auditing? Operational flexibility, bottoms-up innovation, and slow approach. Again, you have few seconds. Operational flexibility, you have a flexibility to do something. Bottoms-up innovation, that is, you are listening to the ground people, face-to-face conversation, talking to the people who actually do the work. Slow approach. So, which is of the following is not associated with agile auditing? You have good amount of time. Again, I will take 10 seconds. So the answer is slow approach, because this is the thing we are trying to avoid in agile. Agile means fast. Now, agile auditing focus on faster responses to customer requests. Now, this is about responding to change. So it has to be a faster response or slower response. I believe this is an easy answer, especially considering the previous question. So answer is true or false. So the answer is true. Now, just give me a second. Allow me to adjust my screen. Okay. Now, why do we want to apply Agile to audit? For very simple reason, we want to reduce audit timelines by increasing efficiency. See, the keyword is increasing efficiency. So it's not reduce audit timelines by skipping something. You have to do things, deliver value, deliver assurance by increasing efficiency. This is about cutting down on the admin task. How? By streamlining documentation. Increase engagement with auditors. continuously discussion. Continuous doesn't mean every year, but continuous means not at the end of the project, more frequent. If your audit project is 3 week long, maybe you should discuss at least weekly or bi-weekly or daily. I prefer to discuss every day to every other day. Respond faster to changes. If you are doing some work, you realize that there is a certain risk. You should not be saying that this is not part of my checklist. You should be ready to adapt your checklist, revise, upgrade your checklist to see that how that risk can be brought in if there is some changes has happened, and how to update this thing and respond to that. And of course, today the agile audit, agile methodology is those sexy words. So if you understand that, then it gives you an ability to audit the agile activity which is happening within your organization. There would be, from last 3 years, there is a development. The organization are making themselves digitized. So there's a lot of opportunity to audit all those digital transformation projects which are happening in your organization. Now, there are some challenges in adopting Agile. Now, let's take this definition of internal audit given by ICI. Internal audit provides independent assurance on the effectiveness of controls and risk management processes. IIA, instead of internal auditor's definition, internal audit is independent, it helps an organization accomplish objective by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate, improve effectiveness of processes. So see, when we read this, it gives us a slightly issue that how the on agility, we will say, individual interactions versus process and tools, working software versus comprehensive documentation, collaboration versus negotiation, responding to change versus following a plan. And now this is where this, we find certain changes on the mindset front. But if you recall my two great quotes, what is a sign of first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two contradictory opinion, two contradictory ideas. So you can be individual, say, while following the process and tools, you can deliver working something while having documentation, appropriate documentation. You can do collaboration while doing negotiation. Now, here this collaboration and negotiation. Now, sometimes people says that negotiation is a zero-sum game. That means one party wins and another party loses. Now, if you follow that kind of mentality, there is a chance you may be losing out on something. But if you believe that it's not win and lose, collaboration can give you win-win situation where you and your client both can win. So while following a plan, are you able to respond to changes? So it is more on the mindset games rather than the real challenges. Now, I would be covering the most popular frameworks. Now, what you see on your screen is a waterfall method. So this is a typical audit process: risk assessment, planning, walkthrough, field audit, review, discussion, reporting. Now, what happens? We plan, do, check, act, plan, do, review, act. In typically waterfall model, the review happens at the end of the process. Discussion happens at the end of the audit. Now, can you make it more frequent? See, the same thing, can you do it at various stages. Risk assessment, can you do the same thing? While walkthrough, can you do the same thing? So walkthrough will give you more inputs. Based on that, you can upgrade your risk assessment. Based on that, you can upgrade your planning. Based on that, you can upgrade your testing procedures. While doing the testing, it will give you more inputs, and based on that, you can change your plan. While review, you can again change that. While discussion, you can again do that. Now, when you're doing a walkthrough, can you have a discussion with your client? Of course, you can have it. While doing a field audit, can you have a frequent discussion with your client? Of course, you can have it. So this is a cycle repeats. So in the first cycle, it's a linear. So let's say three-week project, your review is happening at the end of the 3 weeks. So what will happen? Are you going to rework? No. What if you are doing this activity on more frequent basis, daily, bi-weekly, weekly, you will be more responsive to the work, to your product, which is your audit report, to your customer, which is your audit client. So this is about this. Now, this is the Scrum framework. So there are various concepts called product owner, product backlog. Backlog is nothing but your plan, then sprint. Now here there is also daily sprint. Now what is the main thing here is, here the main thing is this is the work, this is the time. So this is the time, whatever is happening within this time, after that we are going to have a meeting. It can be a standard meeting. We are going to have a meeting, understand what is the progress. Are we on track? Are we are not on track? Just visualize you are doing some testing and you have taken certain samples, slightly excessive samples. Then we are reviewing what is the progress after say an hour or 2 hour or 3 hour, or after let's say 20% sample, 50% samples. So all these things are called sprint, and there is also daily scrum meetings. So this is the framework. The keyword is here is time bound work. So whatever you are doing, let's say you decide 2 hours, whatever you are able to do in 2 hours, finish that, come back and do a review. Now, Kanban framework is the easiest one. So it has a board, it has a list, it's a card. For example, you see this is the board. Within board, you have certain list. Within certain list, there is a card. Now, say list is to-do list, doing list, done list. Now, this thing you would already be doing in certain shapes. For example, if there is a daily status report which comes to you, so it would be having pending, currently doing, done. For example of a Kanban board. So there is a backlog. Backlog is it is yet to be done, in progress. Your various tests is in progress. Peer review means the testing has been done, but they're getting peer reviewed. In testing, maybe let's say you're doing some reviews, and once it has been done, you will say, okay, this test has been done. There might be some partner would say, hey guys, please do, this is very important. You can fast track certain items. So this is an example. Now, I know I used to do this kind of thing in my reviews with my various teams. They used to send me a daily report of various tests which they need to do, the phases of the project that it is to be done, WIP done, and then my review comments, whether they have addressed that or not. And my dear friend, that used to be a daily affair. Now, this is another example. Now, see, there are work papers, doing various tests. Based on that, you are creating your observation worksheet. Now, can you share this observation worksheet with your client and have a daily discussion? If you are having that discussion daily basis, you will come to know that though I have done my testing, but if there are some more context to that, then client is in a position to give you that now, and I would be in a position to check that now and conf either confirm my observation once again, or I decide that there is an appropriate explanation. So this observation is something which is not to be reported, but of course to be kept in the documentation. And based on their observation sheet, you will prioritize and put it to the main report. But if there is a daily discussion, daily review, customer collaboration, then you are discussing the issues with the customer in an ongoing basis. If there are really some issues, your customer is in a position to put appropriate controls at the, let's say, right time. And what is the purpose of internal audit? To improve governing processes, control environment. And once you have identified and you wait for reporting that weakness, then you're not leading to an improvement. You are leading to a delay in improvement. And just if you are an in-house internal audit person, your management doesn't want you to report. They want you to fix. So doing this will allow you to fix. You will be in a position to say, hey boss, I have identified 15 issues, out of which I'm in a position to fix 10 issues before the audit has been concluded. And this is what we have fixed. So this gives a different perspective. It may put you on the right context, may also earn you a table, a seat at the table. Now, let's say you're doing an audit of internal audit of procure to pay. Now you can decide, after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I will give a big report. But there are various items now, say vendor master, vendor management, 3 quotation, availability comparative, purchase order, your GRN, bill booking, bill payment, ledger review. Now, instead of giving one report, you can give multiple reports. Every sub area you can give reports. This report would be faster. You will be able to deliver some product faster. It will also allow you to get, it will allow your customer to fix those things faster. Now, this is what your customer wants. Now, if you give a 20-pager report after this thing, vis-a-vis, let's say, 2-pager report or 1-pager report for these items, I'm sure the customer would be happy, will be very happy. Now, one of the key tenet of governance is segregation of duty. So boss would be the one, but all this activity would be performed by different individuals. So it will allow you to get a quick fixes faster, maybe permanent solution faster. And by the time you come to the conclusion, the control environment would already be improved. Now, areas where Agile can be used, these are certain places where I think you are using or you may use it. Now, have you done snap audits? Short, sweet audits where you go verify 1, 2, 3 particular items, come back and give a nice 1-pager report. Sometimes not in a pager report, but you give an email. Hey boss, I have seen these are the issues. This is the solution. This is what we need to do. Snap audits. If you're doing that, my dear friend, you are already doing agile audit in that particular respect. Time-bound audits. For example, in retail, there is a concept of mystery audit. In mystery audit, the auditor goes to the showroom, shops as a customer, and he will do his shopping as a customer. Of course, as a customer, he can spend 5 minutes, and as a customer, he can spend 30 minutes. It all depends upon what he can do as a customer. But he has only that, whatever, 5 minutes to 30 minutes to complete that audit. Come back, give an audit report, time-bound audit. He doesn't have the luxury to say, okay, I will take a week to give the reports. Now, you all would have heard about Pareto rule, 80-20. 20% efforts give you 80% value. 80% efforts give only 20% value. This is the Pareto rule. 20% of a customer gives you 80% of revenue. 20% of your vendor gives you 80%. You purchase 80% of purchase, generally you purchase from 20%. Of course, this is not a hard numbers. These are softer. It can be 85. It can be 75. But the idea is doing what matters. Auditing high risk item. Low risk item is good to have, but what is important? Have you audited the high risk? Providing timely insights. If you are not providing insights on timely basis, you go do an audit, find something, then you sit for 1 week. That is not timely. You have to see the waste of resources. Now, if you think about your teams, you will realize there are certain team members who are very good in client management, and customer is happy, and customer is very happy with their work, and customer believes that they are delivering value. What is the secret? So let me share an insight from my consulting days. During my consulting days, what I've observed, every audit you will face one or two issues where you got stuck. So what I've observed is, if I don't go to client and client comes to me after 3 weeks, the client is angry. Whereas if I go to the client saying that, boss, I'm facing certain issues at this one or two areas, client is happy and he's saying, hey, guys, you are working and also give me some solutions. So what I realized that by talking to the client, I'm able to control my time better. I'm able to finish my audits better. So what is this? This is your agile auditing or agile mindset in action. Increase your audit value. If you follow 80-20, you automatically will try to increase value and increase involvement of auditee. That will help you to reduce your timeline and continuous coordination for the product. So what it requires is continuous coordination so that you and customer both are happy. Now, with this, I'm almost at the end of my session. So what did I discuss that you want to know more about it, and what did I did not cover that you would like to know? So Charmi, if you have questions, I'm ready to take that, or if you want, we can, whenever you want, we can take that.
Right now, we do not have any questions, so we can go further.
Okay. So I am reachable on this email address, and this is my website where I write some blogs. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sir, we have one question right now coming up.
Yes.
Is keeping constant interaction with auditee, especially in large organization, conducive to agile?
So can you repeat the first? Can you repeat this question?
Is keeping constant interaction with auditee, especially in large organization, conducive to agile?
So I would rather say conducive of the achievement of your audit objective, because what you are doing, you are adopting an agile approach. So by talking to the customer, you are updating that I have completed this much portion of my work and this is the outcome. Now, see in audit, one of the biggest issue the auditor faces is they come across certain observations where the people who are doing that, they provide certain explanations. But when it goes to the manager of that person or the function head, the function head provides certain more information. For example, there might be certain, let's say documentation is missing. Now, let's say there is only, there is only one quotation from a vendor. Now the person who is providing, then that they may answer, maybe the clerk or the accounts guy, they will be too low, they may not have the full view. Quite possible it is a purchase of an item where, as per policy, they have approved only one supplier. Now, if they are having that discussion with the function head, then they will come to know that that this kind of situation exists. Of course, this may lead to another observation. If you have this kind of thing, can you give me your list of approved suppliers and product matching? Now, with that, now he can come back, and while auditing, the auditor can find more meaningful observation. He will say, "Ki, here you have not done one vendor, but you are still getting one quotation. Why?" So that is where you are bringing efficiency. You are on mute.
Please share your presentation to the participants.
Definitely, definitely.
So that's all for the question part to you, sir. After this session, we all will agree that this will add a flavor to our professional life. So we would like to express a deep sense of gratitude to Manoj sir for guiding us on this topic and sparing his valuable time and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir.
The thanks, the pleasure is mine. Thanks for this opportunity.
Moving on to the last and the third segment, it is said that journey of 1,000 leagues begin with a single step. Our this session awaits another new voice, CA Puja Joshi. She is a Chief Internal Auditor, DBS Bank, India location. She is qualified accountant with 25 years of experience in financial sector. She has worked with Barclays, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, holding leadership roles including in GTS, Treasury, security operation areas.
Hi, good evening. Chami, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, good. So thanks, Chami, for such a lovely introduction, and good evening to everyone. First of all, a big thank you for all of you to be patient, and I know it's very late in the evening, and I'm standing between you and dinner, maybe for many of you. I will try and make this session as interesting as I can, so that you all can still wait and be alive before we end. Um, so big thank you to the institute, a big thank you to the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, ICAI, to the SAFA committee, to Mr. Nanda, Mr. Talati, Mr. Jambusaria, Mr. Bandara, Mr. Mitra, and Mr. Sharma. I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but a big thank you to all of you for giving me this opportunity to present agile way of auditing that we adopt at DBS Bank. The stage has already been said by Mr. Manoj Agarwal, and I think it's a very good introduction, and my job has been made easier for this presentation by him. So thank you, Mr. Manoj. So before I actually move to my presentation, maybe a minute on DBS Bank and why I think maybe it is good for me to cover this session. So DBS, as many of you must be aware, is a development bank of Singapore. It is incorporated in Singapore, and it is one of the large 3 banks in Singapore and a financial services corporation. It is one of the wholly owned subsidiary of foreign bank in India. Very few foreign banks in India have a wholly owned subsidiary. And we are currently providing the banking, a full-fledged banking services, offering full-fledged banking services to our big, small, and medium enterprises and individual. If you would have recently seen announcement that in the end of 2020, we have taken over a bank called Lakshmi Vilas Bank in India, and with that, our presence in India has significantly increased. We have now 550 plus branches in India, all across the India. Some of you may know us because you would have seen our holding with Sachin Tendulkar being our brand ambassador. Um, uh, and why we take a lead, or probably why I'm here to talk about this particular topic, is we as a bank are ahead of digitization, one of the pioneer in digitization, and in the Asian countries, I think one of the safest digital bank that we call ourselves. We have received a lot of awards in that regard also. So, and I think it is a journey. It's not like we are fully digitized, we are fully agile. I will not claim that it's a journey. We are also still learning. And as Mr. Agarwal was mentioning, we all will learn from each other. I would like to share our journey of agile auditing. How did we go about it, and what are the teething issues, challenges? How did we come across it, or come over it? So more than happy to take any questions, suggestions, so that we make it a very interactive and learning experience for all of us over here today. So with this brief introduction about my organization, probably I would like to first share the presentation. Just give me a minute. um, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Shami,
ma'am.
can you see my?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
great, great. Okay, so the topic that I'm going to cover today, and I would like to probably look at this into three areas that I would like to cover. One is, what are the limitations of traditional audit? And once we know the limitation of traditional audit, definitely we can look at how we can use the agile methodology to bring change from our or overcome to the limitations of our traditional audit. And there are certain paradox with agile, and I will try to clear that also as we go along. So first, to talk about the limitations of traditional audit, and I think the picture speaks a lot than the word. So I've tried to put as many pictures in my presentation as possible. So if you can look at, I think, how there are three bigger challenges. There are many challenges in the traditional way of auditing, but we are talking about the most important one, and the three challenges which we should be, if we use agile, we can overcome to that. So one is the policing mindset. The second one is information lag or gap, and the third one is the outdated methods and tools that we use in the traditional auditing. And I will take you through all three of them. So maybe just have some patience, so that I will build the story probably in a better manner. Now, if we have all these limitations, we won't be able to go with the speed or the pace that the business currently is moving. There are changes in the external environment, expectation of the regulators, the fast changing technology, digitization that every business strategy is planning to lynch on, and increasingly sophisticated risk. So all that changes that are happening around us, if we keep using the, or if we keep doing the way we do the traditional audit, we may not be relevant for the business, and they might find ourselves. And I think someone else also mentioned in earlier that we may be irrelevant, and we don't want to be. We still want to be a trusted advisor. We want to be a value add. We want them not to look at us from just a exercise perspective, that every year or every 6 month auditor will come and give a sign off, but more as a value add, because there are a lot of resources in terms of time, energy, money that has been put for doing the auditing. So there has to be a value add coming from this particular process. So So if we want to achieve all those things, obviously we need to move away from or overcome to the limitations of traditional auditing. So let's look at the first challenge that we have, or the first limitation that we have. Most of the time we have been seen, or the internal auditors are being seen as, are being perceived as we are a cop or we are a police. And because the stakeholders look at you like that, the way they respond to you, and I think this picture perfectly depicts it, saying that when they look at you as a police or a cop, they are not forthcoming. They are like, may go into a shell, they may not be open up, they will try to hide from you, they will not be giving you information. And I'm sure you all have been a professional auditor, and you would have seen people not being very open to auditor. You would have seen people changing the path when they see coming you, or probably, not able to, or probably change the topic when auditor enter the room. So that's how people respond to auditors. There's also always a agitation or a kind of, not very smooth discussion that happens. There are lot time a very I would say heavy discussion, or very disgruntled stakeholder that we have, because they think we are pointing out their mistakes, and all the time the discussions which are happening are very tense, or very not very helpful. And the last thing, how what happens, because they look at it as us as a cop, the accesses are denied. Though from a regulatory perspective and various aspects, we are allowed to have access to everything. The information sharing is not easy, or it's not like very easily accessible. People try to hide things from us, so accesses are denied. And I think this picture, and unless we change this perception about ourselves, that we are not policing, we are not cop, and we are here to add value, we won't be able to, reach to a trusted advisor kind of a role. The second limitation that we have on the traditional auditing is the information sharing. And if we are not up to the speed where the business is moving, where we are, what are the risks, what are the regulations which are asking you to change, what happening with the business, which new platform they are going to bring, what else they are going to, how their strategies, which business client segment they are going to target, market that they are going to target, which technology they are going to use. It will be extremely difficult for us as an auditor, if we don't have all this knowledge, to plan our audit, to execute our audit, to change our strategy. With a limited knowledge, we won't be able to, do lot of work, or a value add work for our clients. So second most important piece, and a limitation of traditional audit, is not having enough information and real time information for us to do the audit. I think the third limitation is about the tools that we use for as a part of traditional audit, the methods that we use for traditional audit. Most of the traditional audits, we do a audit planning at the beginning of the year or the start of the project, and there is very little flexibility for change. And I'm sure you all are in the new age of technology, where we see you purchase a mobile today and it is outdated in a week's time. There is new technology, new things coming up. So in that such a fast, rapidly changing scenario, if we are not flexible enough to change our plan, and we are rigid to say that okay, we will only stick to our plan that we have prepared at the beginning of the year, uh, it will not help. Then there are a lot of things happen in between the year. There could be regulation that changes. There could be some instances of, some industry wide issues that we see, some geopolitical crisis, like say currently the Russia Ukraine war kind of a situation, which can actually ask you to change the way you are auditing, or the way you have planned. Similarly, I think many of you would have faced it when the COVID hit us. we would have kept all our audit aside, and probably the areas that we focus on crisis management, to look at more closely that how the crisis management being handled by the organization. We would have looked at more closely how HR is managing, or probably the data security is being managed, because now people are working from home. Now all those we are suddenly shift to our audit planning, and we actually change our traditional audit plan and move. So as Mr. Agarwal was mentioning, we do change, we do agile in bits and pieces in day to day life, in our auditing, but we don't know the scientific way of doing it and a standard approach towards it. And that's where I think we don't know that how to actually apply that. We all do it. It's just the question of doing it more scientifically and doing it in more standard manner. The second tool that we use as a part of traditional auditing is sampling methodology. And traditionally, we are relying on a sample of, say, 25, 30, 60, depends upon the control frequency. And as we are moving along in the new era, I think this is irrelevant. You do a 25 sampling or 25 transaction sampling for a client, or who are having, say, processing more than 5,000, 6,000 payments in a day. It is irrelevant because they would like to have more sample and more realistic auditing. And all of us are slowly moving towards data analytics. I'm sure you all would have heard about it. Some of you would have already worked on it, on the traditional, moving away from traditional sampling and actually doing either 100% sampling, or using the data analytics to identify the exceptions and look at only those exceptions rather than looking at entire sampling or few population. So that's the way we are being agile ourselves, but I think we need to be more systematic. The last one, and I think this was partly covered earlier, was in communication of our finding. In a traditional audit, we actually do the communication of our finding only at the end of our audit, and as a surprise, a written report to the client. We are not involving the client on intervals to take their feedback, to take their inputs. And many times what happens is the reporting phase, or the fieldwork phase and the planning phase is a shorter period, whereas lot of time is being spent on the reporting phase because the client doesn't agree to the issues. They want to show you more statistics, they want to show you more examples, they want to show you another control which is working, and they want to tell you that how your audit observation may not be correct. And there is a lot of back and forth happen at that point of time. So we need to overcome this. We need to be more forthcoming discussing the issues with the client. So I'm sure you all are now at least clear about the limitations of the traditional audit and why we need to change that. So we spoke about the policing mindset, we spoke about the information lag or gap, and also the outdated methods that we use. Now, if we want to get rid of all these things, the answer is agile approach, and a better way to respond to more uncertain and complex environment. Agile is the only way that we can do it. Probably I will take a minute pause if anybody has any question on this, and then we move to the next section. So we have covered out of the three agenda, the first agenda, that what are the limitations of traditional auditing. Chami, any questions so far, or can we move ahead with the next section?
Ma'am, we have one question.
Sure.
An internal auditor should be a friend.
Sorry. No, sorry, I lost Charmi. I think I couldn't hear the question. Charmi, can you hear me?
Philosopher and Puja, ma'am.
Yeah, I can hear you, Charmi, now.
So shall I repeat the question?
Yeah, please, if you can.
Yeah. An internal auditor should be a friend, philosopher, and guide to the client. He audits. Kindly express your views on the same.
Okay, maybe I will come to that when we are talking about agile paradox, if it is okay, because we have a separate session section on that. So whether we should be friend, philosopher, or guide or not, maybe we can talk about that.
We have
Yeah.
one more question. Uh,
Okay.
can you please share your experience on detection of fraud in early stages by adopting agile audit?
Definitely. Maybe at the next section we can talk about that. Okay. So when we will talk about actually adopting the agile, maybe I can cover some examples where you will know how to go about it. Okay. Okay. So we spoke about this limitations, and to overcome these limitations, I think what we need is a collaborative mindset, which Mr. Agarwal already spoken about. I will talk about it in more detail. What we need to get information lag to get over to this limitation is timely and updated information. And the last one on the method and tool is harness data analytics and digital tools in our auditing, so that we can overcome this. How can we do it? Maybe in a while we will talk about all these things. So moving on to again, what is agile? And I think by now, since Mr. Manoj has covered it in some bits and pieces, I'm sure you are at least aware about what is agile now. So agile way of working is nothing but focusing on iterative development and collaboration towards a common goal. Um, Maybe before even we start about the audit, talking about agile and how to use it in auditing, let's talk about agile or spend a minute on recap whatever Mr. Agarwal has actually covered. So the agile methodology actually started with software development companies, as we all know, because they were handling projects and they were handling large projects. They wanted to have a method because of which the projects can be handled in a better manner, reducing the cost, reducing the time, making the client happier. They developed this methodology. But as we speak today, this methodology is being used not only by the software development companies, but it has been adopted by almost everybody, because the benefits are such that each all type of organization found that this is the best way to solve some of their problem. And if you look at, say, banking industry like DBS, who is actually using agile, JP Morgan, Barclays, there are so many banks who are actually using agile. There are construction companies who are using agile. There are entertainment companies who are using agile. And it is not, the myth is that okay, it has to be only the software development companies. No, it can be used by anyone in their day-to-day life, for improvising the way they work. There are study has been done, and it shows that 70% of US organizations are actually using agile today, and that's a big number. And I think if 70% of the US organization are using it, certainly there's a value in this process, right, or in this methodology. There are certain myth. We spoke about one of them, saying that the only the software development companies can use agile. The another myth is that oh, you cannot use agile where it is a highly regulated environment, like a banking industry, which is being either regulated in India by RBI, or in Singapore by MS, or by Federal Reserve in US. It's nothing to do with that. I think even if you are a regulated and highly regulated organization, you can still use agile. Agile doesn't take away any of your traditional way of doing the audit, or any compromise on the quality of your way of doing the audit. So agile can be used by highly regulated organization. um, Agile Does agile mean no planning? Does agile mean no documentation? uh, does agile mean no governance? No, that's not the case. Agile means and has planning, but planning at for a shorter sprint, what they call, or a shorter duration, rather than planning for a year or a 6 month, or planning for a audit as a whole. Maybe divide that in a very chewable task, which you can do on a day to basis, or on a weekly basis, to achieve the faster result, rather than looking at a big mammoth task of 3 months, 6 months. Documentation, agile doesn't say that you don't need to do documentation. It gives you a flexibility, and rather agile expect you to complete the documentation as you finish those small sprints or small intervals that you are taking to do the work. So agile wants documentation, and agile does not take away the documentation piece away from it. uh, uh, Agile has no timeline. Some people feel, oh, agile means the project will never end, but that's not true. Agile does not mean that there is no timeline. Agile also has timelines. Following agile method means that you are doing task in a certain time bound process. What it means is actually doing the agile or doing the process in a very time bound manner, by involving everybody who needs to be party to that work, and taking a buy-in from everybody, that they will be able to contribute to achieving that task. So let me give example outside auditing, how agile is being used. And those who are familiar with, say, construction companies, or knows how the construction companies work, take an example that few years back, there was agile that has been used by one of the construction company while building the flyovers in Bangalore. And those who know Bangalore city will understand, and that how important it is to use agile to reduce the time, to reduce the cost, to actually help smoothen the traffic. There are a lot of people or the stakeholders involved in flyover type of building, right? So how they actually used it. So before using the agile methodology, the way the flyovers used to get built was, um, you need to build a flyover for one way to go from one side of the road to the another side, and obviously another flyover to come from the other side of the road to another side. So how they used to build it, they used to put two parallel roads, alternate roads. First they used to build that so that the traffic can continue to flow, and then the flyover construction used to start from both end of the flyovers. And once both the flyovers have been built, the side roads were stopped, and the flyover were started using. Now what happened, and this generally this period of building the flyovers were 18 months or so. And there used to be a lot of congestion of traffic, no lot of disruption, chaos on the road. So they decided to go agile way. And what they actually did was, and I'm very sorry today I don't have pictures to show you, and maybe at some other point I will try to show you the pictures, which will be very easy to understand. So what they did in the agile way of auditing and iterative developments, and giving the product in small phases to the client and taking a feedback. So what they did was, actually they only built one side of the road, additional road for traffic to move, and they started building the flyover only one way. Okay, not both ways together. They only started building the flyover one way, and only one additional road for people, or the side road for people to travel. So what happened in this process? Once the first flyover was completed, they used that flyover for traffic, or starting the travel from one end to another. and the road which they have already built, the side road, they use for other side of the traffic to use, and they started building another flyover, the other way of the flyover. So what they did, they actually built one side of the flyover completely, started using it, gave some comfort for people to, on the traffic, to release some of the traffic on the road, and then started building the another side of the flyover instead of putting blocks on both side of the road at simultaneously. And believe me, this project has been completed within 9 months instead of 18 months as they used to take earlier. And obviously you can imagine that if some project gets covered before a time, it will save in terms of cost, resources, a lot of disgruntled people, their hectic traffic jams and all those things. So this is the value of agile, or this is the way agile can be used, and these are real life scenarios. Why I want to share with you, because we always feel that okay, only software development companies can use agile, and it is not meant for us. Lot of terminology that are used in agile, scrum and sprint and kanban board, and the feedback session, the stand ups, we feel, oh, it's not meant for us, we can't do it. It is, as Mr. Agarwal earlier mentioned, you don't have to get frightened with this word. We can do agile without using a Kanban board, without using certain aspects of agile. We can be still agile and we can still achieve the goals. We need to probably suitably modify it for our own purpose. So that's where I think I would like to take a pause, and hopefully you guys have understood that how agile can be really used in real life. I don't know how much you understood the flyover example I gave, but it was meant to tell you that agile can be used by everyone. So how can we use agile in auditing, right? And when I look at it as agile, and or as an organization we looked at it as agile, it is meant for audits to be done better, faster and happier way. I'm sure many of you would not agree with the word happier, and I will come to that. Uh, Better in the sense of the way we do the audit, the way we approach the audit, right? uh, Faster in the sense of to provide the insight to our stakeholders or the auditees on a timely manner, rather than waiting at the end of the report to tell them that okay, this is your observation, this is your rating, and this is what we feel about the processes that you are or the controls that you are operating, whether they are working fine or not. So reducing that time gap, giving the feedback after every 2 weeks, after every sprint, and making sure that we and the stakeholders or the auditees are on the same page. So we talk about better, doing it in a better way, using maybe data analytics, using some additional tools like blockchain, additional tools of NPL, and things like that for doing the audits faster, by giving timely inputs to the stakeholders, get continuously engaging them in the auditing process, and happier. uh, I think it is little exaggeration. Nobody gets happy when they see audit report. But what I meant when we say happier, it is satisfied that both the auditor and auditee feel good about doing the good work and adding value to the organization. They feel involved in that entire. The auditee feel involved in the entire process of auditing, and not being like, say, okay, only come there, announce the audit, and after 3 or 4 months just give them a report. Not like that. So you are involving continuously, talking to them. So that's what I meant for better, faster and happier audit. Okay. So, and I think the manifesto that is being mentioned here, Mr. Agarwal has already covered it, so I will not go deep into over here. Maybe we'll move on to the next slide. So what is our approach? And here I will probably talk about some real life examples, how when we at DBS started doing the audit, agile way of audit, what was our approach and how we actually went about it. Okay, so we are talking a lot about collaborating with client, talking to the stakeholders, hearing the auditees, giving them a chance to come and interact. What does that actually mean? So, concurrent engagement of all the stakeholder. So this is where we are saying that we are moving from processes and tools, and we are more involving these stakeholders with a continuous engagement, interaction with them. So at the beginning of the audit, you speak to them, you understand what they want. Say I'm doing a HR audit or I'm doing a procurement audit, try and understand what they exactly want from you. There could be a possibility that HR wants you to look at, say, in today's scenario, work from home. HR may want to look at you some onboarding processes because they have developed some new system because of COVID and because of some offline or onboarding that they had to do during this process. So they may want to they may have some hesitance over there, or they may have some concerns over there. So by doing this interaction, we get to know where the real challenges, problems are, or where the client is not very happy, and we can pick up those high risk areas early in our auditing. uh, Again, what does that mean? It means that customer collaboration that gives a clarity on scope and risk areas. It is a win-win for everyone. Instead of doing a full-fledged audit of HR or procurement, we can actually look at, say, 2 or 3 areas in the first sprint, in the first cycle of our planning, and give some input to the client. It sharpens our priorities. In the traditional way of auditing, we used to do maybe everything in that department. You don't have to do everything. We are moving towards a risk based auditing. So we need to sharpen our priorities. What is the high risk? Maybe in a banking sector, we may want to look at, when we look at HR, we may want to look at mandatory leaves, as somebody was mentioning about the fraud. So we may want to look at some staff statements. We may want to look at some areas where there could be because people working from home, are there frauds possible, data leakage possible. So those areas maybe we want to prioritize, and that's where it calls sharpening, with when we have collaboration, when we have discussion with the client upfront. Responding to the change. As we progress in any audit, you might have seen that there is a change, or there are certain things which are suddenly comes up, and you may want to change your way of auditing, or the way you are actually doing the work. And many of you who are in the industry will know that when the swift issue happened in Bangladesh, I think all the countries changed their focus immediately to the swift messaging, and whether we have appropriate controls on swift environment. And this is what is called responding to the change. This is what is called is making sure that we are accommodative for any new things coming up as we progress, and not like rigidly saying that no, I have decided to do this and I will only do this. Let it be if the world is moving in another direction. That's now how it works. I think all of us would have made changes to our audit plan when Russia Ukraine war started, and there are some sanctions that have been put in place to check whether the sanctions have been appropriately taken care by our AML department. So all those are responding to the change. And if you are not doing that, if you are not having constant interaction with the client, not able to look at what are the priorities of the business, we will miss all those things. What are the benefits of doing this collaborative approach? It's break down the silos. It is not like audit is sitting in a one corner of the organization doing something on their own without even realizing where the business is moving. It helps us to uncover the risk early. It It increases audit effectiveness by prioritizing the right risk, and it also helps prompt detection and engagement by identifying the issues. Uh, I think I will take a question here, which I think somebody asked. How do you detect a fraud or something not going well in an agile auditing approach method? Uh, First of all, let me first tell you that auditing is not about fraud finding, right? We are not policing, we are not investigating officers. Our job is to look at the facts and give our opinion based on the facts that we have seen, right? Now, in that process, sometimes we also discover the frauds that are happening in an organization. Now, coming back to my example of HR, or coming back to my example of procurement, if the department tells you that, okay, we had developed a new system of onboarding, it is worthwhile to probably focus all our energy at the beginning of the audit to look at, are there any lacunas in that onboarding process, in that system that has been implemented. Sometime when the new system is put in place, the previous data is not completely transferred, so that there could be chances of some frauds happening or some inaccuracies. It could be malified intention, it could be non malified intention, but there could be chances of errors. So if you identify such things at the beginning of the audit, maybe you may not have to do certain checks that you wanted to do on MIS, or certain checks that you wanted to look at from governance perspective, because if you know that the basic data is not getting captured in the system correctly, no point in just checking the MIS coming out of that system, because the basic data is not captured correctly or is not there in the system. So that way you can reduce your timing of the audit, the entire timeline of the audit. It also helps you to, for the auditee, if you first, in the first 2 weeks, you discover this, you focus on the new system, you give the issues to the client, so that they can start fixing it. And by the end of the audit, even before you issue the report, the issue has been fixed. Does that mean you will not report the issue? No, it doesn't mean that you will not report the issue. You will still report the issue, but with a acknowledgement that the client was prompt enough to take the action on those issues. So does that answer the question, I think, on the fraud? Okay. I think we spoke about the 12 principles of Agile, and I will cover some of them as we go along. Not all, because I think in the interest of time, I will restrict it to maybe 3 or 4 we can cover. But another question that somebody had was, friend philosopher guide. Can audit be friend philosopher guide? What is our role, and where do we stand? So a lot of the time, these two words, the collaboration and audit independence, are contradictory to each other, and some people misunderstand this as, if I am collaborating, I'm too close to the stakeholder, am I losing my independence? I am losing my voice? Am I tilted towards probably having a soft corner for the auditee, and not able to give a judgment on the right judgment on my audit report? I think that's not the case. I think when we look at collaboration, we should not look at it as two different paths. It is more about making sure that we still make our independence by being very open, upfront, timely responding to the stakeholders, rather than doing it at the end of the audit. Uh, Collaboration provides clarity and leads to higher quality findings. Uh, you still are independent, and you can still give your assessment based on what we have seen in the report, what you have seen in the department. It no way compromises your independence. And why I'm talking about this, because a lot of the internal audit or statutory audit work that we do, we are doing a fiduciary role, and we are supposed to maintain our independence. So I want to make it very clear that these two things are need to be looked at it in a perspective. Uh, to the question of whether we can be friendly, we can be guide, we can be, yes, we can, and that's the whole idea. But that should never ever impact your independence. You should always be able to say what you wanted to say as an independent auditor, as an independent view. You can do it in a very effective manner by giving the timely information to the client, proactively finding few things, guiding them and how to go about certain things. But independence is extremely important while you want to be a friend, philosopher, or guide to the and such, some of the regulators not happy for auditors being friendly, or and that's true, because I think in many of the organization you will see there's a very clear cut distinction of the audit department and other department. So but we work for the same organization, and we need to give input to the business by performing the right audit and in a timely manner, so that we can give them a trust. We can act as a trusted advisor, I would say, rather than a friend philosopher kind of a thing. Okay. So another example maybe for people, and how the third line of defense, what we call it as internal audit, and how does that fit into the agile method. So how many of you, and I'm sure many of you, are familiar with this Formula One race and how these things have evolved? If not, maybe I will spend some time on this. The Formula One race, since the day it has been started, this pit stop crew technology, if I'm not wrong, was introduced very late by the Formula One race. I don't remember the first which participating company introduced this. I had it in back of my mind, but forgive me for that. But there is a driver who is actually very important, essential member, but there are also pit stop crews, and there are also pit wall crews, which are essential for winning the race. Now how this entire thing has evolved over a period, right? uh, Back in days, the car used to be very heavy to carry the fuel, and there used to be damage to the tires, and there is no replacement, and that's why you lose the race. So in a agile way, they decided to actually stop the car in between, and so to begin the car with a light fuel it in between the race, change the tires, change some of the parts to make sure that it is good enough for the next phase of the race. And how they evolved is that, if you can see here, there are around 20 to 30 people involved in that pit stop crew, right? Each one of them is an expertise. Each one of them knows what exactly they have to do when the car stops. They will, some of them are changing the tires, some of them are filling the fuel, some of them are changing some of the other parts of the car, and some of them are actually doing only supervision, that how these things are going on. um, and over a period of whatever 30 years odd, this period of pit stop crew has come down from 60 seconds to, I think today it is somewhere between uh, 2 to 3 seconds. So it has come down to that effect, because over a period they have improvised on this entire process of pit stop crew. What is more essential is the pit wall crew, and that is where probably I look at it as an internal audit department, where this crew is actually sitting in a shade, looking each and every movement of the race on a computer, and guiding or making changes, instructing this pit stop crew or the drivers, so that they can take the right decision, make the right changes to the car, and win the race, right? So very essential for this pit wall crew. as essential as a driver or a pit stop crew. And we, as a third line of defense, sits there, actually do data analytics, real time auditing, give a feedback to the business, to the second line of defense, whether it is compliance or some other risk teams which are sitting there, and they can see whether they need to make changes into their strategy, whether they need to change their systems so that they can still be ahead of the game, not get caught by regulators, not get caught by any misconduct, misbehavior, early detection of the frauds. And that's where this entire, I think, analogy of Formula One helps to explain our role as a third line of defense. Let me spend some time on a real life work, how it happens in agile method. um, Shami, do we want to take a 2 minutes break and see whether anybody has any question before we move to the real life auditing in agile way?
Ma'am, yeah, we have a question right now. So can we take
Okay.
that question?
Yeah.
At a practical level, sometimes the business team may circumvent the process for a larger reason. The
Mhm.
the compensatory control in place. In such a scenario, how is this looked at by the audit team? A violation of procedure or process or no action?
Yeah, I think this question has nothing to do with agile, but I would try to answer that. I think when we look at certain steps have been uh, um, dropped by the auditee or the stakeholder or the client, whatever we call them, and a conscious decision has been taken that okay, we will not do these things because we want to deliver the faster product, we want to launch the product before the competitor comes into play, we want to probably look at um, do the faster payment. We have some regulatory requirements to comply with, and in that we might skip one or two steps in the process. How do audit look at it? Is that the question, right? And how, whether audit consider it as an observation or audit look at it, it's okay to have those type of scenarios. So I think it's very difficult to answer yes or no kind of a situation over here. It is dependent on lot of factors, and basically one of the factor that is very important is that which process or which step that the client has missed or the client has deliberately decided not to go for, right? And as mentioned in the question, what are the other compensating controls that were taken in mind or kept in mind while skipping this particular control or this particular process? So suppose you have a 4i 6i review before a payment goes out, and you decided that okay, we don't want to do a 6i review because this is a very critical payment, it has to, there is very less time for system closure, and I want to push this process. What is a compensating control that you have to recover the money back if the payment is wrong? And have management thought about all those things before taking that decision? So all those are the and how the exceptions are being handled. Do they have an exception monitoring process? Who are in the organization being authorized for exception handling process? And to my mind, not reporting is not an option. Reporting with giving the correct facts that how the compensating controls are working in such scenarios, and how the risk has been mitigated, or how the client has gone about it, whether there was proper documentation or it is a call of one individual in the organization, or it has been taken placed to a board, placed to a committee. All those things have to be taken into consideration before we decide whether it is a issue or not an issue, and how should we go about reporting it. I hope I have answered that question. Any other question, Sami?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I think the next piece I want to spend some time on is, and I definitely want to give last 10-15 minutes for people to ask questions. So I will maybe brush it up because I think some of the pieces are already covered by the previous speaker. So how do we do the planning in an agile way? So you need to have, and generally agile in agile projects or agile auditing, the sprint is of 2 weeks. And in the pre-planning sprint, so you divide the work into, say, if the entire audit life cycle is of 6 to 8 weeks, 6 to 10 weeks, you divide it into smaller 2 weeks sprints, and you actually first 2 weeks spent in understanding what you want to do, have a lot of discussion with the stakeholder, what are their concerns, which area they would like you to look at, whether it is HR, procurement, credit audit, market audit, whichever area you are picking up for auditing. What is the concern that the auditee has? What is the concern that a regulator has? What are the previous findings in that particular area where you want to focus? Which area are not that risky and which you can keep it for the last sprint, or which you can keep it for, a latter part of the audit? All this we need to cover it in the first 2 weeks of the sprint. On sprint zero, what we call in our organization is actually the when you are starting the audit and starting the field work. um, what happens is, actually in these 2 weeks you want stakeholders to come for the meeting. You actually lay out what exactly you are going to do in next 2 weeks. You give your RFIs, what data you required, which are the stakeholders you want to be engaged, available for auditing, uh, so that the stakeholders are very clear. They can keep those people ready. They can keep that data ready for you to come and do the audit. Uh, they can also tell you where the data is going to get delayed, where some of the stakeholders may not be available, what are the alternatives that you need to look at in case if this data is not available. Is there any other way you can get the data? So all this is where the continuous auditing, or continuous, not auditing, continuous interaction, collaboration with stakeholder will help you. It actually happens that you do daily stand up for 15 minutes to see what you are going to do in next 24 hours, which client you are going to meet. Is the client meeting already being scheduled? Is the data already available for you to perform the testing? Is the right skill of people you have? See, you may not need a technology auditor throughout the period. You may need him in the first 2 weeks. You may need a data analyst in first 2 weeks to churn the data, to give you the exception, and next 2 weeks you can actually spend on looking at those exceptions and going deep into those exceptions and having discussion with the client. So you can also plan your resources, specialized resources in those sprint, if you do the pre-planning work correctly. um, Also, at the end of every sprint, you will have a discussion with the client to tell them what are the findings that you had in that 2 week sprint or 2 weeks auditing that you have done. With this, the auditor or the auditee will be able to tell you whether your observation is right, or they might come back to you with additional information. They might come back to you with some compensating control. uh, they might tell you something additionally, some other system to look at, uh, to make the observation concrete. And if they're okay with the issue and they feel, yeah, this is what the issue is, I think half of your job is done and you can close that issue there. You can ask them to start working on the action plan and move ahead into the next sprint with new set of testing that you want to do. So at the end of the field work and at the end of the audit, you already have agreement with the client on the issues. You have already kept them informed. They have already started working on the action plan, and you are time from end of fieldwork to the reporting gets reduced. Again, this is where a very clear depiction of traditional versus agile auditing that we have given. Early engagement, doing the pre-planning work, having engagement with the client in the agile way. In the traditional audit, we were not used to do that. Very structured, joint discussion, highlight the challenges, blockers to the stakeholders, so that they can prioritize their work, prioritize your work. Even at the fieldwork stage, so basically what we are trying again and telling you that it is not like we are moving in a very different way from a traditional auditing. It is more about doing things timely, fast, and communicating at the speed at which you do the audit, rather than waiting at the end and flag end of the audit. So final thoughts, success of factors contributing to our agile adoption is competent auditors. As I mentioned, you put the audit team where it is required, like data analytics or business mindset people, or people who are with some special skills, come and go for those 2 week sprint, and not block them for the entire 6 or 8 weeks, 10 weeks time that we have. It is a tone from the top that we need to do the things in an agile way. People need to participate. The culture and the mindset needs to be changed. It has nothing to do with a particular tool or a system. It is all about the mindset of the people, both at the auditor side and at the auditee side. And that's why you need a lot of buy-in from the top management. Again, adoption of agile requires commitment from both the side, because if your stakeholders are not willing to do collaboration, not willing to come for the stand-ups, not ready to participate in the stand-ups and discussions, it will be a failure. So it has to be adoption by both. So what is agile? Again, changing the tool we use, changing the way we think, and changing the way we work. Um, you don't need any kind of additional resource, additional money, additional investment into the system to adopt agile. And that's a beauty of this model. You don't need anything. A Kanban board is not a physical board, or you can create a board on a PPT, you can create a board on a Excel, you can create a board, a physical whiteboard in your office, you can use that. Doesn't mean that you need some hi-fi systems to perform agile auditing. I think it is the most, I would say, less cost involved technique that has been evolved by software development companies. I would probably take a couple of agile principles, if you are okay. I think, how are we doing on time? It's 8:30. Maybe another 5-10 minutes I will spend, and then we can go to the question answer. So the 12th principle, which Mr. Agarwal had already covered, is customer service. So maybe let's look at what do we mean by that. In the traditional way, it was more of a surprise to stakeholder only at the end of the audit, whereas in the agile method, the stakeholder satisfaction is at the top. Their involvement is there, their continuous involvement is there. We are delivering the audits in parts and pieces by doing the smaller audits and test steps, and giving them issues at interval of 2 weeks. What is the second agile principle? That is changing requirements. In the traditional way, we were sticking to our plan, no room for change, very rigid. Whereas in the agile principle, we are flexible to accept changes. We can change our audit sampling. We can change our audit the way we were doing in between the audit itself, and start focusing on some of the areas in middle of the field work. We don't have to do or wait for doing the material discoveries at the flag end of the audit. Oh, I did this, and probably this is not the right way of doing it. When we communicate that with the client, if you have continuous collaboration with the client, you have the flexibility of changing your audit scope, flexibility of changing the way you do the field work, the sample that you select. Maybe I will not take all the principles. One which is uh, more important is motivated individuals. In the traditional way, there was lack of visibility to the auditee. Also, we never used to have, auditors never used to have a continuous engagement. So auditors were also demotivated. Having those stressful discussions at the end of the audit was quite stressful after doing a 10 weeks extensive field work. Uh, and we move from this to a very happy scenario when we come to agile, where both the auditor and auditee are interacting on daily basis, and happy and satisfied at the end of the audit. Face-to-face conversation, I think Mr. Agarwal also covered this. It was not the scenario in olden days, but agile helps you to do that. I will take another one. Technical excellence, putting the audit team together with members with similar technique expertise. I think I briefly touch on this one. If you know exactly what you are going to cover and the sprint that you are going to do for next 2 weeks, you can accordingly, appropriately choose the people who you want to be on the auditing to do the work. Instead of putting 10, 12 people for the entire period of 10 months, 10 weeks, and wasting the resources, I think you can choose the right people for the right job. One of the good principle is simplicity. Much time is spent in the olden days to draft the full audit and to draft the full observation. Here it is very simple. You don't have to give a very structured report in between the audit, but there is a conversation, there is a dialogue, there is a potential issues and observation that we are sharing with the client, so that it's a very simple way of handling the things rather than waiting for a very neatly written report, all the grammatical errors and all the fine tuning done to the report and the issue register. Here you are allowing a flexibility to give the potential issues in a very draft manner to the client in between. And probably the last principle, which talks about regular adaptation. That means in the olden days, there was no feedback available, and here we are talking about after every sprint of 2 weeks, you are actually taking a feedback from the client and improve in the next 2 weeks coming for the audit. So wherever, like whether you need to improve, the stakeholder needs to improve, there is this sprint sessions, which we call it as sprints retro, where both the teams, the auditor and auditee, come together, talk about what went well in last 2 weeks, what didn't work well in last 2 weeks, and actually learn from those and don't repeat those mistakes for the next sprint of the audit, and more happy in the entire auditing space. So I think that's what I had for today. Um, so maybe I will stop sharing and open it for any questions that you have. And also happy to take any feedback anyone has.
First of all, let me go to the question part by client. How do we achieve as an auditor doing audit in agile methodology? Should we explain the benefit of agile audit to the client?
Yes, definitely. And I think as I said, if your stakeholders are not on board, your auditees are not on board, this is not going to happen. And instead of converting every audit in agile, maybe you select one project first, look at the benefit, give them call them for this type of training so that they can also be, understand the agile methodology. So if you uh, you don't have to go full fledged saying I'm changing my department today onwards, it is going to be agile, because it is going to have some teething issues, it is going to have some challenges. When we did it, the audit teams not necessarily all the time sit in one location. We are spread, we are multinational organization, the stakeholders are sitting in various regions, various countries, so it is not easy. So maybe you start with a smaller project, try and see what are the benefits, what are the teething issues that you have, how can you improve on those, and then take slowly on board your stakeholders, because nobody likes changes. Okay, whatever we say, change is constant, change is integral part of our life, nobody likes changes. But if we can show the benefit, look at some of the low hanging fruits, look at some of the critical audits where there is always a customer complaint, there is always a disagreement with the client, and they feel we are not keeping them in the loop. Select those customers who are happy, who are okay to look at agile, who are ready to adopt changes, who themselves have adopted agile in some other way in some other projects that they are doing, not in auditing, and select those people and then start it. You cannot go full bang saying that okay, tomorrow onwards I'm agile. It doesn't happen that way, it's a journey. We as a DBS, we are doing it for last 2 3 years, we are still learning, we are still having some challenges. So it is not going to be that okay, one fine day I got up and I said okay, agile, I'm agile. No, it doesn't happen that way. So yes, you need a stakeholder buy-in, and it will happen slowly. And more than happy to help you in case you need any support over there.
Uh, is there any specific tools for agile audit?
No, there's no tool to the best of my knowledge. The We use the Kanban board, we use the sprint, we use the meetings, the stand-ups, the retro meetings, but there's no tool as such where you can where you can actually have a system saying that okay, this is where the agile audit is getting captured. I don't think so. I'm not sure Mr. Agarwal has any input over there saying that is there a tool available where we can do agile way of auditing.
So, Puja, let me answer this in two part.
Yeah.
First of all, agile is a methodology. Now, you can use Kanban, you can use Scrum, you can use waterfall, you can use anything else. In fact, the Deming cycle plan, do, check, act. If you apply to you can apply to the entire process, you can apply to the sub processes, you can apply to the activity level, and that would be your agile approach. Having said that, now that this is a need of our, so the various tools maker, various audit tools maker, they are happy to provide support. It leads to better sales. For example, now I'm not let's say promoting their product. Let's say go to the Teammate. So Teammate has a Teammate plus Agile product. What it does, it combines the Kanban board, it combines the Agile, it puts you things. For example, you can tag it to do item, doing it, done item, and it presents you within the audit tool, which a number of companies may already be doing that. So they are trying to bring this way, but see, uh, let's take the motto of ICAI, या सुसुप्तु जागृति, जो सोते हुए में जागता है. जो सोते हुए में कौन जागता है? जो अलर्ट रहता है. And anyone, if you are running your firm, you are looking for doing more with less, you're looking for ways to minimize your efforts while giving value to your client. So in terms of mindset, you're already agile. Now, the whole idea of giving this perspective is it's empower you to take some decision, whether somebody is only selling something useful or it's only a marketing trick.
Yeah. Yeah, and agile is as Mr. Agarwal said, doesn't mean that everything has to be agile. It can be a mixed bag approach of waterfall and agile, and it can be done. Believe me, it can be done with a very simple Excel. The Kanban board can be maintained in a simple Excel or a simple PowerPoint. You don't have to have a very sophisticated tool for Kanban board, right? A whiteboard on your in your office will also serve the same purpose. Okay, so no need to look for a tool. Maybe you might have to look for some training like the Scrum Master training or some training to understand the methodology in a better way. Those type of things, and which is easily available. And we can also request maybe Chami to next time come up with some session on those things, which can be useful, that how exactly agile or the Scrum Masters training can be given to everyone, so that you understand. So no, there is no to my knowledge, there is nothing. There are companies who can sell you whatever you want, but it is, and that's why I said it is a very easy methodology which doesn't need any kind of sophisticated technology tool investment in that aspect.
I will just add to what Puja is saying on this training. So let me give an example of what I do. Sometimes we need to do some research on the project. Now, research is something which can be endless. So my mandate to my team is you decide, say, 30 minutes or 1 hour. Within this 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever you are able to find out, your top 5 results, top 10 results, that will give you maximum value. Now, you can treat that as a sprint of, say, 1 hour. When we do data analytics, again, you know, there is no end to data analytics. You can slice, dice, still come out with some another way to analyze your data. But I have a limited resource. So again, thing is, guys, spend 2 hours and do whatever you want to do it. Come back and discuss with after 2 hours. If something is missing, we will discuss that. So I'm not calling it a sprint, but I'm giving them this boundaries that please complete certain task within a timeline so that we can save time.
Yeah, and I will give you a very classic example, and it's very easy, right? So, um, and I'm coming from the household mindset, right? So, I have a Kanban board on my fridge. To be very honest, it lists down what I'm supposed to do, what my husband's supposed to do, what my maid's supposed to do in a week, and take a stock of that. Okay, what has been done, what not has been done, who failed, what was the blockers. Move on. What has been done to done the list. It could be paying a electricity bill, cutting vegetables. It could be very simple task that you divide the task that you need to do in a week, and who is responsible for doing the task. Once the task has been completed, the person just have to move that sheet from to do to done. If it is having some blockers, maybe call up the relevant person to say that why it is not being done, or call up another person to say my credit card is not working and my husband needs to pay the bill. Then just call him up and say, okay, you need to pay the bill, my card is not working. So it is as simple as that. And why I'm giving this real life example, because these are very easy techniques I'm trying to tell you. I'm not trying to make it very simple, but at the same time I want to tell you that it is not even rocket science. We don't have to we are not building a rocket here. It's a very method that we are just trying to tweak our traditional method. Some of that we are already doing, having some continuous engagement with our stakeholders, or even using some data analytic tools. Just do it in a little scientific way or little structured way to achieve the better results.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is, what sort of instrument is necessary for Agile audit?
Human beings. Nothing
And
else.
common sense.
Yeah, common sense and a mindset to change. Mindset that we are ready to change. I think that is the only thing. No instrument, nothing else that you need. Maybe some technology like this where people can have a daily stand up and people can speak to each other if they are not in the same location. something like that, but which is like easily available and not like every day we use it. So I will not call that out. You don't need any special instrument, you don't need any special tools, techniques to do that.
See, on
Uh,
this daily stand-up, let me also share. For example, in my organization, so we do a daily hurdle at department heads level. Now, within department, the department is doing their daily hurdle. We don't call it stand-up, but we call it a hurdle. So where we are discussing what are our day's priority and where we are stuck. Sometimes the priorities need to be changed. And since I get the information, I'm in a position to change those priorities, changing the plan.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so, ma'am, we have the next question. Uh, this agile system can be applied in other sectors in addition to audit.
Yeah, yeah. And many business are doing that. As I gave you an example of construction companies, in the banking section, wherever there is a probably a task which is longer in nature, you can do that, where you can use this methodology.
How much time is saved vis-a-vis traditional auditing? Is it comparable with risk-based auditing, where we look at very high risk areas?
I don't. Maybe I will ask Mr. Agarwal to add something, but I don't think it is about the time. It is not like, okay, one audit you reduce it by 10 days or 15 days. It is more efficient. I can definitely tell you. It is. Don't look at it from time only from time saving perspective. Sometimes it can save you 50% of the time. Sometimes it may not save you anything, but it will definitely being efficient in the way the entire process is being done.
So I will ask a counter question. So let's assume you're doing an assignment. Let's take it's a stock audit. Okay. Now you have been given certain locations to do a stock audit, and you go and execute. Now you don't do any discussion with the client throughout the project. And you do some stock count. Now you come back and you discuss with client and you realize that there was an error in communication. You're supposed to audit, let's say, East region vis-a-vis West. Now tell me, have you have you saved any time with a risk-based audit or agile-based audit in this particular instance?
Right, sir. Um, is Canboard a substitute to audit planning? Ma'am, you are on mute.
Sorry. No, the simple answer is no. You still need to have a planning document, whether it is called audit planning memos or announcement memos or whatever you create at the time of start of the planning. It is not a substitute. It is just a summary of the task that you will be doing in the next 2 weeks or things like that. It is not a substitute for your planning.
So,
Certainly
so, so,
not.
so let me slightly twist the answer. For example, I maintain my audit plan, the various phases into an Excel sheet. And what I have done, there is a status column. So pending, work in progress, done, review to be done, final, audit documentation. So anything, whenever a phase, a particular item has been done, the status changes. And what I've done, I've created a pivot out of that. So it tells me that pending, how many items are there, WIP, how many items are there, to be reviewed, how many items are there. Now, is it a Kanban board? For me, it's a Kanban board. For you, it may not be Kanban board.
Thank you, sir. The one question is, if you are adopting agile auditing to match the current requirement of the client, how do you manage getting prior approval of audit committee, which have already been approved annually or half yearly audit plan?
So, if I understand the question correctly, I think what the question is asking that how can you get a uh, approval of the audit committee to do the audits in an agile way. Um, I think as far as you are not changing any of your output and any of your documentation, you should be able to go back to your audit committee and tell them the revised approach. And you can always, to begin with, you can say that we want to use it for a sample basis and come back with how it is working, what is the feedback, whether we can use it for the entire audit plan, and take a buy-in from there. I think nowadays, rather, most of the audit committees are asking the clients to or the auditors to go agile. So I don't think that would be a challenge, and it would be rather they will be happy to do the audits in an agile way. You need to tell them the benefits, what you are going to do, how we are going to do, and how it will not reduce the assurance. It will not reduce the time take. Sorry, the uh, any reduction in the scope. And how are you going to keep that in mind? So if you do that, I think it should be easy to get the approval from audit committee.
Let me add. So beside whatever Pujaji has said, so see, your deliverables are not changing. So you are supposed to audit certain areas and give assurance. Now you use risk base, you use 100% audit, you use data analytics, you use agile, you use XYZ. Your deliverable is to give assurance on that particular area, which is part of your internal audit plan. So that is not changing. Now, how you are going to give assurance, that is up to you. Now you can make yourself somebody, you can project yourself somebody who is up to date, who knows what is happening in the profession, who can project that hey, I am a highly intelligent guy. Especially for people like me, in-house people, we need to project that we are very smart. They are lucky to have us on board. So the deliverables are not changing. So frankly, I don't think that you need to take an approval, but it would be a good idea to project yourself a highly aware, intelligent internal auditor to the board and to the audit committee. But let me also answer another question which was there. So if I understand correctly, one of their question was that there is already internal audit plan is there. Now you want to bring another area as part of the internal audit plan. Now, see, as an in-house internal auditor, and I'm sure that is also equally for the consulting companies. So the management expect us to take care of their management request. And I need to build my internal audit plan with certain redundancies so that I can take care of those management requests. Now, what is the extent of those management requests? I don't know. So I need to use my experience. I need to use, some air from the numbers. Let's say I will keep 10% of my mandates free to take care of those management requests. Now, who is going to give you those additional areas? Either you feel it is important enough to go to audit committee to say, I'm going to audit this particular area, or it is coming from the senior management where they feel that, hey guys, we need some assurance on this particular area. So, and you need to deliver both bit your initiative or their area. So you will build that kind of redundancies. Of course, a good idea to communicate audit committee that I have this much redundancies to take care of your request, which I'm going to receive or may receive throughout the year.
Chami, you are on mute.
That's all from the question side. So we have completed all the questions, and you have cleared the doubts in the mind of people very well. Thank you so much. Starting by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. So for those of us who did not know what's agile auditing, today it's being very possible due to our speakers. The way our speakers have taken us to the topic is highly commendable. Thank you, ma'am and sir, for being with us till the end of the session and clarifying doubts from the mind of our participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chami. Thank you, Manoj, and I think thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Charmi, and thanks, Puja, for great interaction.
Thank you.
So every day holds the possibility of a miracle. So keep hoping for the best and keep smiling. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Once again, a hearty gratitude for making this event memorable. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated team to make this event a rocking success. My sincere thanks to secretariats and the entire team, our tech team for all the technical arrangement. Keep learning, keep smiling. Thank you.
Thanks.